Welcome everyone. TheDailyWoo here as recording this Monday, October 3rd, 2022. It's a couple minutes shy of 7 p.m. and I am about to consume a piping hot caffeinated beverage. Oh, that's warm. Warm. Kind of hot in these rhinos. Take a look at those storm clouds. Obviously, the hurricane has come and gone, but Central Florida always has some inclement weather around this time of the year, summer into fall. This is going to be a walk and talk because I'm going to be walking and I'm going to be talking. I'm going to be taking a long walk off a short pier. Except this up here just completely stops, so I'm going to have to go up here and turn around. Will not be completely walking off the water. The other day when the winds rolled through here, when I came back to check on my homestead, I noticed that this was kind of slanted at an angle because the wind or debris had pushed this up, but now it has kind of leveled off a little bit. Oh, and it appears as if the water has subsided down there a little bit as well. But nonetheless, I'm inviting you to join me on this little stroll around Celebration Lake, Lake Reinhardt. Shall you? That's good. Yes, rocking chairs are back here on this stair step. The little placard here has been unsubmerged. And got a gator over there, right there in the water. One of the gators here has been named Cool. My friend Daphne, when she visited, was saying, I think that gator looks very cool with a K. So ever since then, I'm calling this gator Cool. Now there are 2 or 3 of these in the water. In fact, the other day when the swamps over across the walkway were filled up, there were more than 2, but this is one of the staples here in the water. Cool. Look at this. I didn't even notice that there is a I almost said squirrel. I didn't mean to call you a squirrel. Turtle. There's a turtle walking up here to the shoreline. It just submerged itself. In case you haven't already figured out, this is going to be a very casual video. I want to talk about how I basically have no earthly clue what in the hell. Ooh, popping up now. See the entire torso and tail. Good sized gator. I don't know, maybe 6 feet, maybe 5.5 feet. Definitely not huge by any means, but decent size. But I have no idea what in the heck I'm going to be doing this October. I have some ideas, and the reason I do not have a consummate game plan is because the Rays have made it to the postseason, Tampa Bay Rays, and I do not know how far they will get in the postseason. They're in the wild card, but in order for them to get to the World Series, they got to go through the wild card, the ALDS, the ALCS, Division Series, American League Division Series, what ALDS stands for, American League Championship Series, ALCS, and then to the World Series. So it could be a short month, it could be a long month, depending on if they get eliminated or not. And looks as if they're doing a little work on the signage here on this restaurant. Reggiano's. I haven't eaten in there yet. I've eaten at the diner on the other side, kind of catty corner to Market Street, but I haven't eaten at the Italian place. I think it's an Italian place, Reggiano's yet. It was called something else and then it just kind of changed ownership recently. All right, cool. You want some of this hot vanilla latte, this steaming hot vanilla latte? I know it's very tempting. I know it's very tempting. Also, the sky looks amazing at this hour. Dusk into sunset. I know it's a later video than normal. making some eye contact down there with me. Yeah, that's sunset. The sky is alive. Now, as far as the baseball postseason goes, just to try to give a quick explanation, Rays are in the American League. By tonight or tomorrow morning, as the recording of this, should know who they'll be playing in the wild card, whether it be the Cleveland, used to be the Cleveland Indians, now it's called the Cleveland Guardians, or the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, I do not have a passport, so if they were to play in the wild card, the Blue Jays, they would not have home field advantage. That would have to be up in Toronto, in Canada. My passport expired 6 months ago. I have not renewed it, so I would not be able to go to that. There is a possibility that I could hop a flight to Cleveland. Don't know if I'll do that. If they win that, they would come back to Tropicana Field starting with Game 3 over in St. Pete for the American League Division Series. Now, if they play Toronto and win against them, they would play the Houston Astros. That would kind of be how the bracket would go for the ALDS. Or if they played Cleveland and won against them, they would go to Tropicana Field for Game 3 and 4 of the ALDS against the Yankees. And then it would go from there if they were to beat the Yankees, ALCS if they were to win that and go to the World Series. Now, I have a lot of friends who are National League fans who would be rooting for the Cardinals, who are in the National League playoffs, the Padres, Dodgers, and I have promised all those friends that if for some reason it was Rays and their teams in the World Series, there's a good chance might go to a game. So it's going to be an interesting postseason. But I do not know how this month will play out. All right, enough technical baseball talk, even though it's kind of layman's terms, but that's kind of what's going on. And I have not seen the fountain off in a while. Also, as the bird flies, as the crow flies, or as a stork or any other fowl will fly, it's 2,197 miles to Burbank. Now, Tropicana Field, this just gives an example. St. Pete is where the Trop is. 104 miles. 104 miles from this spot. Biggest complaint is people from Tampa don't want to drive to St. Pete, which is like a half-hour drive. I am commuting all the way over from here. I have a little more kind of lackadaisical open schedule than someone trying to get off work at, say 5 or 6 p.m. and try to make it to the game. So I kind of understand that, but also I see the other side, my side. I am taking a hike of a commute to get to the Trop. So I don't think the distance thing, or even the fact that it's indoors, is really the main reason people aren't going. I just don't know if Tampa and St. Pete and Florida is a baseball state, which is kind of always odd to me because literally one of the best teams in the game, has been for a long time. They've been in the postseason pretty consistently over the past 10, 15 years, give or take. The team started in '98. I think maybe it's because they don't really have like a big name player like an Albert Pujols or Aaron Judge or anything like that. But a pretty solid lineup. We'll see what happens in the postseason. I really love living in Celebration. I just love it. I love being close enough to I can just walk downtown, walk around the lake, take a stroll on my bike or my scooter if I so choose. I just get the vibes. I also like being really close, 5, 6, 7, 8 miles, 10-minute drive commute to any of the Disney properties here at WDW. So that's nice. That's nice as well. So I was out in Southern California for a couple weeks. I was out there for D23 and some other things. Went to Disneyland a couple days. I went to HHN Halloween Horror Nights. But not Scary Farm, which has been a tradition for me when it comes to each and every year since I've either lived out there or visited out there. I wasn't able to go to that because they pushed their opening night of their haunt up a week. Had to get to Salt Lake City for the Salt Lake City Comic Convention. Fan X. Went to a couple events out there. My sister was out there as well. So I was hanging out with her and her husband and doing some family stuff and enjoying SLC So I wasn't able to do Haunted Hayride, and I was not, oh, look at how beautiful this is. I wasn't able to do Haunted Hayride at Griffith Park, and I also was not able to do, they're having something called Shacktoberfest. Shaquille O'Neal is doing a haunt at the Queen Mary. I believe it was just kind of like the Queen Mary haunt, except now you can't go on the boat, and Shaq took it over. Shaquille O'Neal used to play for the Magic. Everyone knows him as a Laker. I know him as his first year, his rookie year, and a year after that, playing for the Magic. I digress. If for some reason the Rays get eliminated later in the month, I probably will hop a plane. Tentative plans. I'm just, take all this with a grain of salt. I change my mind every 3 seconds, but right now I'm thinking, if for some reason, I do not want the Rays to be eliminated, but if they are, I probably end up back in SoCal before the end of the month. And maybe try to hit some of those haunts before they end and celebrate Halloween out there. If the Rays do not get eliminated and go to the World Series, I'm in it for the long haul. I will be at a heck of a lot of games, rooting them on. I have been waiting for this, the postseason, since spring training. I am stoked. And if for some reason they win the complete World Series, which is in early November, I still think I want to do either a road trip or start traveling, maybe go to some places I don't usually go in November. Because December is going to be a lot of Central Florida stuff, you know, the parks with the Christmas decorations up, things like that. Some family stuff going on. I always like celebrating the holidays and being around home. This is incredible looking. Look at this. How perfect is this sunset? But in November, no matter what happens, I'm going to travel. Maybe some back road stuff, maybe just hop a plane and go some places I don't usually go. But that's kind of what I'm leaning towards in November, either way. You know, I just kind of go through phases with things where I like to stay put, go to a lot of theme parks, go to a lot of conventions, be around a ton of people. I love being around a lot of people, but after a while, I really need some space. I'm kind of a private person, kind of an introvert, even though it might not seem like it. So sometimes I just need that crowd detox. And after conventions, after, you know, the hootenannies and hullabaloo of the theme parks and being packed and conventions and now the baseball season and postseason and crowds there, I think after it's all said and done, I'm going to need probably a month of just kind of some solitude and travel in a car. Okay, kind of keep walking. And even though the main lake has subsided, this little bike trail over here where I saw the gator startled me over here the other night, has not subsided. The water is still standing over there, which I was kind of thinking that maybe by a few days after it would have kind of dried up a little bit, but it has not dried up. So I'll kind of show where I might end up in October. I'll show some big maybes, because knowing me, I'm going to be very tempted if the Rays play away games to hop on over to those away games in anywhere that's in the U.S. So I'll kind of show what the schedule could be, or the cities I might end up in. This is all just off the cuff. This month is going to be off the cuff October. Off the cuff October. Now notice it says, if the postseason started today, there's still a few days left, so this could be adjusted just a little bit. So I'm really looking at the American League side. The National League side, not so much until the series, because none of those teams, except the one that goes to the bracket of the World Series, will the Rays be playing against. So I'm not really paying too much attention to the National League side. However, look at the American League side. So if the season started at this particular moment, which after tonight or the next night, the only difference that might change would be that Tampa Bay right there, which is the number 6 slot of the wild card over here on the far left with the C being Cleveland, could move down and Seattle could be replaced. So it could be Seattle and Cleveland, and it could be Tampa Bay and the Blue Jays. But let's just say it's this. There's a possibility that I could go to Cleveland, cannot go to Toronto simply because I do not have the passport unless I can get a passport in the next couple days. But let's say they defeat the teams in the wild card and they either play the Yankees or Houston. So obviously I'll be at the Tropicana Field games, 100% will definitely be there. But there's a possibility, maybe I get on a plane to the Bronx or a plane to Houston as well. So who knows what the future will hold. And then any of these teams could possibly be, you know, this is a big if, but if the Devil Rays end up making it to the series all the way here to this middle circles and they face the Braves, I'll go to Atlanta. They face the Dodgers, I'll go to LA. They face the Padres, I'll go to San Diego. They face the Mets, I'll go to New York. I would love to go to the Phillies and of course the Cardinals. So there's a lot of options. It's all up in the air. I do not know how this will dictate and change the future of this month for me. Just thinking out loud. And big ifs, big wins. Well, not wins, W-I-N, which I'm hoping for, but big wins, W-H-E-N, things happen and coordinate. I'll do other content in those areas that I go to, and I'll kind of pepper other stuff in around the games. I always try to do that. I always try to pepper in other stuff besides just, you know, one thing. I timed this very perfectly. I had a nice relaxing day. Kind of got caught up on some sleep that I needed. Been hitting the parks pretty hard recently. So it's kind of nice to slumber a little bit, do some stuff around my home. And then just decided to do a little walk and talk. See? The little spires of the theater have been illuminated. It's kind of fun too because I've been keeping up with a lot of the, you know, people have been posting stuff, the analytics, MLB, things like that, where they're, you know, posting about what the postseason will be. And, you know, they'll just, anytime something is posted, people chime in with their opinions. And all those teams that I showed are all mentioned in very, very bountifully. You know, especially when it comes to, you know, the Yankees and stuff, and teams like that. But even all the other teams, rarely will you ever see anyone online chime in that the Rays have a chance. So it would be awesome if they pulled it off. I would love to go to a World Series here in Central Florida. Well, kind of only go to Tampa's like a couple hours, but you know what I mean. I would love it. Last year, they did not make it to the World Series, but I was in such a baseball, you know, I was really getting into baseball so much that I just wanted to go to a game. So my uncle, who lives in Atlanta, has been following the Braves forever, years and years, decades. He had never been to a World Series game. Took him to a World Series game. Had a great time. It would be neat if the Rays played the Braves and I could go again, this time watching the Rays against them. That would be cool. So no matter who plays, I have someone that I either know or someone in my life rooting for another team. Could be a lot of fun. A lot of big ifs. Keeping my fingers crossed. So just to clarify, this month, before the end of this month, there is a possibility that I could be not only in Central Florida and not only at Tropicana Field in St. Pete, but one of these places I'm about to list. Cleveland, Seattle, the Bronx, Houston, Atlanta, LA, New York City, San Diego, St. Louis, or Philly. There's a possibility that before the end of the month, I could be at one or more of those spots. Also tucked away over here next to the lake. So during the hurricane a few days ago, they moved all the bicycles here, which is like it's like a bicycle taxi service where you pay a couple of dollars, you do it on an app, they give you a code, you unlock the bike and you can ride around. Before I bought the bike that I have here, I would use these sometimes. They have not replaced them since the storm. I kind of wonder if they have just scrapped this as a business. Maybe this was already kind of uprooted before the storm went in. It's located kind of over here next to the far end of the hotel on the lake. I also have a lot of Disney Vacation Club DVC stays this month. So I will be staying at some of those hotels in between games or after. You know, I don't want to put it in the universe that they're not going to make it far, but so that will be kind of happening through now until basically middle of the month. So expect some DVC stays. Also, that's not spinning around. Sometimes that's spinning around here at the Bohemian Celebration Hotel with the lighthouse up top there too. So expect some DVC stays. There's going to be a few. Yeah, I knew they'd turn the lights on. Once the sun goes down, not only do vampires start to appear. Oh, that never happens here. I haven't seen Kiefer Sutherland walking around. But also the lights are illuminated. The Celebration Theater, still not open. A decade closed. Don't always have the ability to walk right through the middle of this thing. When the water's on, I don't really ever, oh my gosh, look at that freaking sunset. I mean, the sun's pretty much already subsided over the top of the horizon, the bottom of the horizon, but yeah, take a look at this. This is just awesome. You know, I love living in Southern California. In fact, I miss Southern California dramatically. I love being close to the WDW parks here. I love being so close. My parents only live like 40 minutes from me. So they are very, very close by. And I love the weather in Southern California. Far more superior than the weather here. I mean, it's just without a doubt. Southern California weather is the best place I've ever lived. However, not a lot of cloud formations and not a lot of sunsets that have this magnitude of beauty. So that's something to be said about Central Florida. Well, that's going to do it for today. I've said so much, yet I've said so little. I appreciate you watching and listening to me just ramble about basically nothing, about future plans, and for just being around. Listening to me talk, listening to my journeys, listening to my adventures. People always ask sometimes, what do you do for work? What do you do for a living? What do you do in your life? I point a camera at things and point out the obvious. That's kind of it. That'd be kind of my job description. And I appreciate anyone that watches. I'll see you in the next video, the vlog. Look at that sunset. Kiefer. He's never been here. The vampires come out at night. Kiefer. The vlog is over.